In House of Cards, we examine the many different details of characters' lives and interactions, some of which are for the better, while some are kept in secret due to their gravity if discovered. Almost the entirety of the show is about secrets and the facades that people hide behind. As for this project, I want to delve into one secret in specific that jumps into almost every character's life and has serious significance: the sexual/affair component of many characters. The show has many examples of its importance and how it is almost universal amongst each of its characters. In the scene with Zoe first meeting with Frank, we can acknowledge its gravity by seeing that Frank let Zoe into his house, solely based on the picture of what could possibly be interpreted as Frank checking out Zoe. The fact that Zoe can use this as an access into Frank's house, despite how inferior she is, and how late it is, shows how it could be significantly detrimental to Frank in the picture if it were leaked. As for their actual interview, we see much more of the primal part of the sexual component to the show. Zoe's tactic of the push-up bra and revealing shirt to try and get Frank to open up is immediately called out, yet points out how, despite being corny or tacky, is somewhat effective because of the way Frank is hardwired. Even though Frank is a smart person and can notice people's motives and get a good read of almost any situation, he still falls victim to this no matter how he tries to justify it as a good tactic professionally. We also see the sexual component pop up as a problem for Peter Russo, as the scene immediately after the interview between Frank and Zoe is Peter being arrested for drunk driving. As for Peter, it is much less of the primal instinct and demands of his sexuality, but instead the problems that come from the secrets and affairs. Being in a serious relationship and fooling around with a floozy can amount to serious problems, especially as a congressman in his position. In the scene with Stamper buying the silence of the girl that Peter was caught with, he is supposed to be correcting the mistake that Peter has made. However, ending the scene with him hypocritically doing exactly what Peter did shows that the feelings and thoughts are prominent amongst most of the characters, despite their role in the hierarchy. As for Claire, she's a little better at being able to suppress the feelings that we're talking about amongst these characters, even though she eventually caves to them. Her thinking of Adam and asking him to come from New York shows her constant thinking of him, though she doesn't always act on these feelings or thoughts. The fact that she is able to hold off from Adam for a while and not really get too involved until she learns about Frank and Zoe shows that it is a force that's hard to overcome by any character, despite their position, sex, situation, or circumstance. A very good example of this being exhibited through the actual cinematography of the show is the scene of the affair between Frank and Zoe revolving around Zoe's bed, that eventually becomes a type of bad omen for her later. The scene switches from Frank and Zoe's affair on her bed to the scene of Peter Russo, who struggles with the same affair troubles, making his bed for his children that he has to hide these secrets from. Putting an object in both scenes that is being used for polar opposites, the children of which Peter's real relationship are from, and who he has to hide any signs of having an affair from, and the actual affair going on in Zoe's bed in the other scene. As we can see, it is an aspect of almost everyone in the show's relationships. Whether they are the ones perpetrating these things they have to keep secret, the ones who are on the other end of their secret, or the many of those affected by their affairs in a magnitude of different reasons. It acts as a type of common denominator in a way, to show all of the characters as somewhat similar.